How do we define and measure wealth for ourselves and for others? Is it merely through the number of dollars that we've accumulated throughout our lifetimes? Does it have anything to do with the amount of possessions we have, the size of our house, or how prestigious our cars are? Or do we measure wealth through some other means entirely? In today's video, I'm going to be going over 3 common ways that I see wealth defined, as well as how I personally choose to define it for myself. Hey everyone, Daniel here, and welcome to Next Level Life, a channel where you can learn all about investing, debt, retirement, and many other financial topics besides, because let's face it, the schools aren't going to teach it for us. So if any of those topics sound interesting to you, or if you want to learn how to better handle your money and have more financial freedom, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell next to my name to be notified every time I upload a new video. And if you want to further support the growth of this channel, you can check out some of the links I've left down in the description below, which includes a 30-day free trial of Audible and 2 free audiobooks of your choice, as well as a list of some books on money I'd recommend checking out with your free trial. Or you can share this video with a friend and leave a comment below letting me know what topics you'd like me to cover in future videos. So the 3 most common ways that I see wealth defined that I'm going to be talking about today is wealth as measured by dollar value, or whatever currency you happen to use, wealth as measured by duration of which you can sustain your lifestyle without continuing to earn an income, and wealth as measured through the wealth trinity as discussed in MJ DeMarco's book, The Millionaire Fastlane. So the first way that we often define wealth is through sheer raw numbers. If you have $10 million in your bank account, we could pretty safely assume you would be considered wealthy by a large portion of the population. But with only $10 to your name, maybe not so much. For the longest time, having a net worth of $1 million was considered to be the gold standard, to be wealthy. And for many, it was, and still is, a goal to strive for. However, the downside to viewing wealth purely through the lens of raw dollar values is that, depending on the lifestyle of the individual in question, $1 million may be an extraordinary amount of money that can fund their lifestyle and then some for many, many years to come, but for others, it may not be able to last them a decade under their current lifestyle. Location, of course, plays a large role in this. I mean, $1 million living in New York City or Los Angeles isn't going to get you quite as much as that same $1 million living in Minnesota. So while using a raw dollar value approach can give us a general idea of someone's wealth, it can also be somewhat misleading, unless we also have more information to go along with it. The second way that we often define wealth is by figuring out how long that money can last a person if they weren't able or chose not to continue generating an income. This is often the approach you see when retired people or their early retiree counterparts are discussing how they managed to retire in their 30s or 40s. They figured out that they would be able to live off their savings for however many years they figured they'd need it in the case of the retired person. And this approach of basically asking yourself, how many days forward can I expect to live this lifestyle on this amount of money, solves the primary issue I was mentioning with the raw dollar value approach, because it allows us to adjust for differing levels of lifestyle and come to a more uniform number. Someone living in New York and spending, say, $100,000 a year with $1 million in savings would have accumulated roughly 10 years worth of wealth for themselves, whereas someone living in a lower cost of living area, such as Minneapolis, may only be spending $50,000 a year. Meaning, assuming their savings were the same of course, they would have accumulated roughly 20 years worth of wealth for themselves. Unless you want to consider things like inflation and rate of return if they invested the money somewhere, which of course we would in reality, but I'm just trying to focus on the pros and cons associated with the definitions today. The point is, this approach gives us a more uniform way of analyzing the wealth of ourselves and others than just looking at net worth figures. However, what this approach fails to do is take into account things other than money. Some may disagree with me here, and that's perfectly fine, but I personally feel that a person's wealth incorporates more than just the amount of green pieces of paper they have, or even how long they can make those green pieces of paper last. While that is an important part of the equation, it isn't the entire equation, which brings me to the third way that we often define wealth. The third way we often define wealth is through what MJ DeMarco calls the wealth trinity in his book, The Millionaire Fastlane. In the wealth trinity, one's wealth is measured not necessarily by how much money they have, at least not directly, but by how strong their relationships are with friends, family, and community, how healthy and vibrant they are as an individual, and how much freedom they have in their life. In the book, these are referred to as the 3 F's: family, fitness, and freedom. And I personally like this definition of wealth the most out of these 3. When I look back at the richest moments of my life, the memories and moments that I will cherish forever, None of them have that much to do with money. Again, not directly at least. They usually have to do with late game nights at a friend's house, or those rare trips with my family growing up, or going out west and visiting a bunch of national parks for the first time in my life. Now, certainly I couldn't have done much of that stuff without money, since at the very least food, gas, and some form of lodging would have been needed, but my life wouldn't have been as rich and I wouldn't have been as wealthy had I just left all that money in my bank account. Now, that's not to say that saving money isn't a good idea, or that it's unimportant, or that we should spend everything we make because we're gonna die anyway. No, it's very important to save. Just not for the mere sake of saving and watching the numbers go up. Even though I understand to some people that can be entertaining as well. But I think it's important so that you can develop a passive cash flow that gives you the freedom to choose what you want to do with your life. It gives you the choice to be able to retire, or maybe go part-time if you don't want to retire fully, say if you're following the Coasting Financial Independence path to retirement. It gives you the choice to maybe take some extra days off beyond the vacation that your company may give you so that you can go on an extended vacation with your friends and family. That's why savings is important. It gives you that freedom of choice to fill in the blank here. And it's those freedoms of choice, time, and location that, when used properly, allows you to best strengthen those other aspects of the wealth trinity and become a truly wealthy person, both with money and beyond it. And I think that's a much more comprehensive and accurate definition for wealth, and it's the one that I use, at least until I find a better one to replace it with. Which leads me to my last question of the day. How do you define wealthy? I know there are dozens of definitions out there that I didn't cover in this video, and I know it's entirely possible that one of those definitions may be even better than any of the three I've laid out today. So let me know in the comments section below. I'm really interested to see how others view this question. But that'll do it for me today. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell next to my name so you'll be notified of all my future uploads. I generally upload every single Monday, and if you have a friend that would be interested in this kind of content, be sure to share it with them. Let's really get this information out there and start our own financial revolution.